we are back on the record on case number 22 CV 416. The petitioner is still on the stand. I'll remind you, you're still under oath. Ms. Richardson, before I let you conduct cross-examination, I did want to remind you again, we'd had discussions earlier about that you may choose to invoke the Fifth Amendment, right? And, you know, the petitioner gave a lot of testimony this morning. I think she covered a lot of ground that is probably presents issues that are present in your criminal actions. I don't know. It sounded like to me that possibly, and I understand if I were in your shoes, you would probably want to respond to some of those things. But again, I would advise you again to think about whether you want to take your Fifth Amendment right, invoke your Fifth Amendment right, I mean, to not incriminate yourself and to not open the door to some of the issues that were raised this morning, so to speak. Do you understand?
Yeah, I understand.
And because I can't act as your advocate, and because I don't have a clear understanding of exactly what the factual and legal issues are in your criminal case, I don't know if it would impact that or not. But I have serious concerns that it could.
Right.
Okay? And so I just want you to be mindful of that, even while you're questioning her, that you don't open the door to subjects that you intend to invoke your Fifth Amendment right not to incriminate yourself on. Understood?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So with that, you can begin your cross-examination.
All right.
Your Honor, I guess the only thing I would request is that if she needs to approach the witness, my client, that perhaps the deputy can bring documents up. I think that with the spirit of the pending CPO and stay away order, and
I understand because there is the protection order is in place, and you'd like her not to approach you is what I'm hearing. Okay. Or, you know, it may be easier if she hand the documents to you and
That's
you
fine.
can
I
bring
have no
them
problem
up.
doing
Okay, all right. Thank you.
All right. I just wanted to ask the plaintiff a few questions in reference to the harassment that me and her father experienced while I was in a relationship with him. There was a pattern of harassment established by the plaintiff and her sister over a period of 2.5 years.
Okay, so you need to ask
I'm gonna
questions.
ask the question.
Okay, go ahead.
First question I would like to ask the plaintiff is, on occasion of, according to the plaintiff's discoveries, and then sometimes there won't even be questions, they'll just be comments.
No,
No,
they
no,
can't
they
be.
have to be
That they have to be questions.
Okay, okay.
The comments, probably you can testify to what you want to tell me when we move to your part, okay?
Okay.
You're only examining her, so you have to ask questions.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
And then you also need to stay by that
Stay
microphone,
there.
because you're being picked up by that microphone that's on that table,
Oh,
so
I
you
see.
need to be right around there, okay?
Ms.
Yeah.
Richardson, if you need to present documents to her, I'll take them up there, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, no problem. Just let me know, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Well, according to one of the, I have a question to ask you that you sent a message to me on the 18th of December, 2020, and it says, what you are doing is using him as a meal ticket, and you were using him for his money and to pay your bills and to have a car and have all the luxuries you've never had before. And I want to ask you, why would you, in a world where everyone always is admonishing others just to be kind, what would provoke you to say something as terrible as that, and have all the luxury you never had before? Why would you say something to me like that?
Because it's the truth.
You don't, that's not the truth though. What would make you think it's the truth? What do you know about me that will make you poise a provocative statement to me, such as, in all the luxury you've never had before?
So Mike, is the question why I'm going to answer the interpretation of the question of why I would assume that you're taking advantage and scamming my father. The reason is because, one, you have priors on your record. You don't have a driver's license. You have a misdemeanor. You have child endangerment. I got poor references from your prior jobs. You checked my dad out of his assisted living facility behind the children's back. You used his Amex when we asked you several times to stop. You had my dad calling us, begging us for money to pay your bills, to pay your rent. You called my sister, harassing her for money continually. We asked you to go away. You continued to continually to not. You raised manic episodes in public every single time I saw you. So your behavior over 3 years is the reason I have this opinion of you. And then because you created a fake power of attorney, you cashed and sold his stock. I have continual evidence, and that is why you are being indicted for your criminal activity that, no, you have not been found guilty of yet. But I'm confident in the case that you will be found guilty of every single thing I said to you and about you. So what is your next question, please?
Okay. All right. When I first met you, and when I first met you, and you agreed to meet me at the coffee shop with your father in June of 2019. And yes, it's true. And I first thought about being your father's caregiver, legitimately being your father's caregiver. Why, at that occasion, would you deny? Okay, you told me the reasons. That's okay, I get that. That's your father. I mean, hey, I respect that. But then, why would you, if you didn't allow me or trust me to be his caregiver, why would you allow me or trust me why would you tell me I could date you?
I didn't.
Okay, I'm going to get the email that was provided to me from your plaintiff, and I'm going to ask for a sticker from the judge.
I placed stickers on your,
Oh, you did?
um,
Great.
but if you're just gonna use their same exhibit, you can just rely on that. You don't
Okay.
have to mark it as your own.
Okay,
Right, if they've already admitted it, then you can use it.
okay. That's
And I think where you're going with is their exhibit A.
okay.
And I think where you're going with this is the statement in the June 29th, 2019 email. If you want to date our father, that is fine, but we will not be paying you to spend time with our father. Is that why what your question is?
No.
Oh, okay, go ahead then.
No.
All right.
It is, you literally responded in an email saying that we don't care if you date our father.
Okay.
Do you recall that?
I recall the email that the judge is referring to,
Okay,
because we were not going to hire you.
okay,
And I don't control who my dad talks to if he chooses to go into a relationship with somebody. I don't control that, and that's so that's on him if he wants to date
well,
somebody.
I'm gonna ask you a question. Who is Bliss?
Actually, I don't even know. A woman my dad was friends with before, but that is not her name. Actually, it is a nickname. So, who are you referring to? What is her legal name?
I just wanna know if you knew who Bliss was.
Do you know who Bliss is?
I know
Okay,
of her. I
she's
never met
asking
her.
you questions,
Yeah,
okay?
I know a friend of his that she passed away, and that is not her legal name. That is a nickname.
Okay, were you aware that she passed away due to suicide?
No, she died of cancer in the hospital at Riverside or Grant. She died of cancer, is what I was told.
Okay, she passed away from suicide. Your father let me know that. Are you aware that she was diagnosed with the cancer from having relations with your father?
She was diagnosed of, I believe, stomach cancer while she was admitted in the hospital.
Right. Are you aware that she was diagnosed with cancer as it relates to having a relationship with your father? A romantic relationship with your father?
If you're referring to HPV virus that turns into cancer, that takes 7 to 13 years.
I'm not
to-
referring to HPV virus.
Okay. I don't know what you're speaking of then.
At the time that we first met at the Panera restaurant, June 2019, and you being your father's medical proxy, don't you believe it was your responsibility at that appointed time to discuss your father's full medical diagnosis with me? Do you believe that was your responsibility at that time to tell me that your father was diagnosed with cancer of the tongue on June 29, 2019? Instead of telling me today, do you believe it would have been your responsibility, being his medical proxy, to let me know that your father had been diagnosed with cancer of the tongue, according to the plaintiffs, according to the discoveries, since 2017?
I made you aware of all of his medical conditions when we met at Giant Eagle, at the Starbucks at Giant Eagle. That is when I made you aware of all of his medical conditions.
Okay, again,
At
being his
Panera-
medical proxy, at the time you met me, the very first meeting, being his medical proxy, it would have been do you believe it would have been your responsibility to inform me of your father's entire medical diagnosis?
Well, I'm just gonna make an objection at this point, because I don't believe that that's relevant. I'm not sure how it is relevant at all in this case, but if the court's gonna allow it, she can answer.
It's just a yes or no question. I think where she's going with it is, this is part of her defense, that she believes that you have committed acts that she considers harassing against her. Where she seems to be going with it is that she believes that in June, because you had your daughter's mental health care power of attorney,
Yeah, I'll be glad
do
to
you,
answer.
it's yes or no, do you think you had a duty to tell her in June?
Well, I'd like to answer it in the fact of not just yes or no. It is no, because I was interviewing you for a job to be his caregiver, and I was denying you of that job. So I was not hiring you. And if I was hiring you as a caregiver does not swap bodily fluids or any bodily fluids with their patient, and they would protect themselves with gloves and with facial protection no matter the health condition of the patient. So I do not tell, as a medical proxy, my father's medical condition is confidential, and I do not share my father's medical condition with folks. It is not my job to share his medical condition with folks, and if you're interviewing for a job that I was not hiring for, I do not owe you his medical history.
Again,
So no, I do not feel.
She's explained her answer, so let's move on to the next
Okay,
question,
okay.
please. Thank you.
okay. But you believe it was okay for me to date him, knowing full well you had that information, but you did not, but you deprived me of the opportunity to know that as well. Letting me know up front, at that meeting, you said, no, you can't be my father's caregiver, but you can be his date. Is there at any point that you believe that you should have said, by the way, my father suffers from cancer of the tongue.
Okay,
Huh?
here's,
But it's okay to date your father.
okay, your point's been made.
Okay, all right.
Your point's,
yeah,
I do
okay.
understand your point, because she's
Yeah,
saying she
yeah.
told you that in September. You're trying to make the point she should have told you sooner in June.
Absolutely.
I got your point,
Okay.
so let's move on.
With your answer being what it was. So you believe it was okay for me to engage in a regular romantic relationship or be his date, but then you tell me 3 months later in September that he suffered from HPV. I didn't get from HPV cancer of the tongue. I didn't get HPV as cancer of the tongue, Your Honor.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Let's move on.
And time had already lapsed. 3 months
Okay.
into our relationship.
But now you're just testifying.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
what is
That's
your
a
next question?
Okay. Next question. In one of your text messages, you state to me that your father was being kept in poor. He didn't look clean. That the house was dirty. That I was supposed to take care of him. You said you would take care of him, but I'm not his caregiver. I'm his woman. So innately, me being his woman, I'm gonna take care of my man. With that said, but you didn't want me to be his caregiver. I would say professionally. You didn't want me to be a professional caregiver tonight. But I was okay to date him, and but you didn't want your father giving me any money. So, did you think that I was going to date your father, take care of your father innately, as because being his companion, that's what I did innately as being his live-in partner and companion. That was our regular lifestyle. So, and I have evidences, video and audio I would like to share also with you. So, do you think it's bad for your, do you think I was scamming your father because he would want to just be a man to me and give me, like, you know, help me out in my own daily life, my own walk of life, my own being a woman to him, and he being a man to me? Did you call that being a scammer?
I think what she's asking you is that
What's the question?
because you made comments that your father was begging for money to help her pay bills. I think what she's saying is that they were in a relationship. She was taking care of him. He wanted to be a man and take care of her and help her financially. But you consider that to be a scam.
Yes.
So you wanted me to just like be a servant to your dad for free?
I asked you to go away in June 24 of 19. I said, we didn't want to hire you. We did not ask you to be a part of our father's life. We asked you to go away. And I asked you in Panera, I asked you to go away. I gave you confidential information about my father's health condition, hoping that would make you go away, because a 47-year-old beautiful woman does not want to date a man who has cognitive issues, who wets himself, who can barely, he doesn't even know how to use a microwave or make a sandwich. I mean, nobody wants to be with a man like that is a vibrant young woman. So when I shared his health history, I really thought you would go away. I did not know you all were dating for months. I did not know. I knew you moved him out. I knew you put him at the Bexley house. We had him being taken care of. So for a woman to
Okay,
check
stop.
out a man
That's it.
out of a
That's it.
retirement home behind his children's back, that is a scam. That is elderly abuse. That is what I knew you were doing. That's what I accused you of doing for 3 years, and we finally indicted you on those charges.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, when I met your father, did you know that he asked me to find him a place?
No.
Okay, now you do.
Well, that's not necessary, okay? You can testify to that. You just-
That's a testimony.
That is not,
I'm
when you,
sorry.
we're in your case, you can testify to that. That's what I meant. When I say you can testify to those things, I'm saying when you go under oath. Right now, you're not under oath, so you can't just
Okay.
say things that you want. You have to ask her questions, and if you don't like her answer,
Okay.
then when you present your testimony, you can refute her testimony, okay? But you don't argue with her and challenge her right now, okay? Just ask questions. Thank you.
Okay, well then, in that regard, I'm just ready to give my testimony.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any redirect, Mr. Probst?
Were you close with your father?
I've always been close with my father.
Okay. Would you be surprised if you found something out and he hadn't told you?
I would, yeah, sure, of course. I mean, my father doesn't tell me everything, and with his memory loss and his Alzheimer's and his cognitive issues, and I'm sure there's many things. And throughout the years of me taking care of him, I've always been shocked by things I've found out about my father. Right? He was married for 20 years to Sharon and my mom for a while, and he was living independently before his strokes. So there's a lot of things. We have a very good relationship, and but my father is not a very nurturing, we'll call it, individual. We don't sit there and share feelings with each other.
Did he ever tell you that he wanted Miss Richardson to move him out of Creekside and find him a place to live?
No, but my father did not like being around old people. And so he had talked to my sister and I and said he doesn't want to be around old people. And so we were thinking about, do we move him to Colorado with Lucinda and get him an apartment in her apartment, or her condo in her condo building. But we kept my sister and not me specifically, because I am the one locally that said, Dad, now is not a good time. Not a good time. We will continue to discuss this. You will be well taken care of. You're 4 houses down from me. You're going to remain in Creekside until we can figure this out. But we will talk about it. So he was not loving living in a building with a bunch of old people, because he did see himself as old.
Just one last question. At the time that your father was moved out, had you already interviewed
Oh, yeah.
Richardson?
Yeah,
Okay.
because I interviewed her in June, and then he signed the lease in August.
So it's fair to say then that at the time that your father would have allegedly told Miss Richardson that he wanted moved out, Miss Richardson already knew about his mental issues, correct?
I didn't share medical history, I don't think, in June. I had a very frank conversation with her at Giant Eagle, which was in September. We could have discussed it, but keep in mind, I wasn't hiring her. Why would she, you gotta remember, why would she date an 80-year-old man? Like that to me was so far out of a thought process. This beautiful woman asking to be his caregiver. She stated she had caregiving experience. She was a nurse. She was all this stuff, but she wasn't. She claimed she had all this experience. She didn't. Okay. So the lies are compiling. We see this. She has child endangerment on her record. So why then would my dad date her? But you have to remember also, my dad's mental and brain damage condition. He has damaged, what a doctor explained to me, in the part of his brain where the sexual drive is controlled. So my dad's sexual thought process is heightened because of the damage, and that's why he says inappropriate things to women. He's a very inappropriate person, and he's very embarrassing to go out to restaurants with and to go places with, because he says things, if you're overweight, And he just mentioned he's gonna tell you you're fat. Like, he's very inappropriate. And so the damage, and this is where when my father tells me he doesn't want to live around old people, he wants to move, like, it doesn't matter what he wants. He's unable to care for himself. I am there to take care of him and to ensure he's safe and he's financially secure. So we make those decisions. My father has not paid a bill. He has not taken care of anything for himself personally since 2017. He doesn't even have access to his bank accounts. He doesn't have access to his medical records. He doesn't have access to his trust. He doesn't have access to anything. My sister and I have controlled his life since 2017. So just because he meets a woman in Starbucks and she wants to help him move out, I don't care. She doesn't get a say of where my father lives, and she can date or not date him. I don't care. But no 47-year-old woman should ever go against this man's family that is taking care of him. To me, that is not normal. That is a scam. That is elderly abuse. And to isolate this man and to move him, like, that is not acceptable.
Okay.
Not
Another
acceptable.
question, I'm not done.
I don't have anything further on.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'll give you leeway. You can ask questions based just on his redirect.
What was his redirect? Oh, his redirect was, could her father have said anything to me that she
Right,
didn't know?
right. The testimony she just gave, you can ask cross-examination questions about that. Go ahead.
I don't have a question about that. I have a question about when your father moved into the Bexley house.
Okay, I'll let you ask one more question. You should have asked that before you ended your cross-examination. But go ahead. You can ask that.
Did I give you the keys to the house?
Months after the fact, I don't know the date. Yes, you did.
Did you come inspect the house?
I don't think once he moved in, I don't think I was there for months and months and months. I don't think. You can tell me if I was. I don't think I was.
That'll be part of my testimony, so I won't even, that's your answer. All right, well, Your Honor, I'm ready to take the.
Okay, all right.
the,
Thank you. You can
witness
step down and return to your
stand according
seat.
to the memorandums I have submitted.
1 second. So do you want to testify on your behalf?
I want to testify on my behalf
Okay, all right. And
in reference to the CPO order.
gotcha. Understood. Okay. I'm gonna let you remain at the table since all your documents are
Okay.
everything there, and the microphone will pick you up. Okay. So
Okay.
I'm gonna need you to.
It is technically still our case.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said you didn't have any other.
Well, I
witnesses.
don't.
I'm so sorry.
I think I need to rest, subject to.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry.
That's okay.
I
No,
was
it's
jumping
okay.
the gun, yeah.
I understand. There's a lot. I'm not trying to be.
Go ahead. Yeah. Okay.
I just wanted to make sure that for the record.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
I know we had subpoenaed a witness. He's not
Okay.
here. I don't believe that he would add anything that Ms. Kirstenstein or Logan didn't. In fact, he would only corroborate that there's a criminal investigation going on. But that's really neither here nor there. It's really why we got to that point that I think is relevant. So we will rest.
Okay.
Subject to
Admission of your exhibits.
our exhibits. I
Okay.
have everything. I don't have Exhibit K. I don't know where K went. K grew wings and flew out of here. But I've got. But yes, but we can deal with that at the end. But so.
Yeah, you're right. We went H-I-J. I have a K.
Yes, I don't see mine, so
Okay.
we can.
You don't mind.
You have it? Yes.
Oh,
Thank
there's-
you. I knew
okay.
it was floating around here. So anyway, I'll hang on to these in case I need to
Yes,
use
sir.
them to.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. All right.
And so with that, we rest.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Richardson, I jumped the gun a little bit. I had to officially let them rest for the record. That was my mistake, so I'm
fine.
glad Mr. Probst reminded me. So they've rested. We're now moving on to you.
Okay.
How would you like to proceed? Would you like to present your testimony?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and I already told you I'll let you remain at the table, but I'm going to just swear you in. If you could raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Okay. What would you like to tell me?
I'm going to go straight from my respondent's answer in defense in this matter, 22 CVH 416. comes Jessica May Richardson. Thus said respondent, in pursuit of justice and reunification, the primary goal of this action is to have the plaintiff's civil protection order lifted. The goal is to be reunited with my beloved Paul C. Kirschensteiner in the here and now. On January 21st, 2022, the plaintiff obtained a civil protection order against the respondent, Jessica Richardson, alleging several false claims in order to do so. The Court of Common Pleas granted the plaintiff her petition based on the false claims that the plaintiff reported. This report is purposed to refute any and all false claims alleged to be true and give explicit evidences and give testimony, beginning with the review of the plaintiff's civil protection order report. And we begin with the first allegation. We have an open case with the Bexley Police Department for the following: in forgery and theft and unauthorized use of a motor vehicle against Jessica Richardson. Detective Bird is one lead detective. Respondent's answer. These are false claims and charges. There is and has never been any acts of forgery, namely one power of attorney executed by Paul C. Kirschensteiner to me for use of assistance in his business affairs. There are 2 authentic articles. Paul C. Kirschensteiner's authentic article is already in the custody of the Franklin County Municipal Court with defense attorney, public defender, attorney Isa Mock, in regard of case number 22 CR 382. Also a key evidence that there is no forgery. Respondent's answer extended. There is no theft and there is no open case. Respondent's answer expanded. Moreover, Detective Bird communicated to thus said respondent through respondent's legal counsel at the time, attorney Sterling Gill, regarding the durable power of attorney alleged in question to be forged. In the 3-way conversation on speakerphone at Sterling Gill's office, sometime in November of 2021, Mr. Bird disclosed that the department sent a copy of the POA they had on record to the BCI to have the signature authenticated. Attorney Sterling Gill told Detective Bird and my witness to let him know the results when it comes back. Mr. Bird did let Attorney Sterling Gill know the results, saying that they were inconclusive, meaning that they didn't know if it was his signature or not. So the results were undefined and inconclusive, not confirming that the POA was forged or not confirmed. Therefore, there is no open case of forgery because the respondent cooperated with the Department of Bexley Police through her legal counsel at that time. The case should be shut. Motions of discovery to be submitted to you today would be: 1, original copy of the durable power of attorney given to me by Paul C. Kirschensteiner, signed, stamped, and certified by the notary service at UPS on East Main Street in Columbus, Ohio on February 12, 2021, already in custody. Respondent answer on the unauthorized use of a motor vehicle. False. On December 17, 2021, I drove Paul's golf cart to the plaintiff's house looking for him. Being an actual resident of his then address at 2877 East Broad Street because I had not been evicted, apartment B12. I had every right to operate Paul's golf cart. Paul knew I brought it over to his daughter's house, but he did not know that she had been put in jail for it. Motions of discovery to be submitted. The State Farm Insurance invoice postcards, an official voter poll registration address card listed at 2877 East Broad Street, apartment B12, verifying my residency there. Plaintiff, in her malicious disposition, conspired 5 days with the Bexley Police Department to find a way to put me in jail and keep us apart. 5 entire days had passed from the date of December 17th, 2021 to December 21st, 2021 of driving Paul's car to her house for Paul from the day that the Bexley Police came to my home and arrested me in my backyard right after I came home from work December 21st, 2021. In her write-up report of incidents, the plaintiff filed in her civil protection order. The plaintiff literally confesses to conspiring to have me arrested on a false charge, conjured up a way to put me in jail. The plaintiff alleges that on 12/17/2021, the respondent, she showed up at my home. I have the incident on Ring video. She was looking in my front door after I asked her to get off my property and made threats. Respondent's answer: plaintiff is incapable of telling a full truth. On December 17, 2021, I came to her house driving Paul's golf cart. I came by to see if he was okay. It was the first time I would have saw him since his having his accident. I drove his cart to her house from his house, of which I still had all the keys to. The property as well as the keys to the golf cart. I made no threats to the plaintiff. I parked Paul's golf cart in front of her house. After knocking on her door and asking to see Paul, she denied me. So I left walking away down the street. Why does the plaintiff not say this detail in her civil stalking order? Why does the plaintiff lie about this? Why does the plaintiff omit this information? Inquiring minds want to know, what is she hiding, and why, if she is so pristine and possess such a perfect pedigree? What else is she hiding? He that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much. And he that is unjust in the least is unjust also in much. Luke 16:10, King James Version. Motions of discovery submitted. Exhibit A. Photographs of Paul's coffee I brought him that morning at the apartment. The golf cart in front of the plaintiff's house, December 17, 2021. Apple iPhone photo gallery dated. Bexley Police Report write-up, 2 pages, document of dismissal. I waited by the phone to receive a call from Paul. The call did not come until several days later, after his daughter had me arrested on December 21st, 2021 for driving it over her house on December 17th, 2021 and parking it on the street in front of the sidewalk in her front yard. The alleged charge they conjured up is joyriding. The charge was dismissed with prejudice on December 30th, 2021. The plaintiff's father and my companion for nearly 3 years, Paul, called me on December 24th, 2021 in the evening time. I was at work. I worked at Papa John's at this time in Eastmoor, across the street from the Top Restaurant. he explained to me that he stayed home and he was by himself. That Holly, his daughter, the plaintiff, had gone to a Christmas party with her family. Paul told her that he didn't want to go, that he wanted to stay home so he didn't catch the virus. He told me then that he loved me and he was sad that he was not with me. He was concerned how I was making. I told him then that his daughter had been put in jail for driving the golf cart, and that now I have a blemish on my background check that was preventing me from getting a job in my preferred career path. I am a certified nursing assistant. He was so sorry and apologized to me for her actions. He then asked me what could he do to help me. I told him he had to talk to the prosecutor and tell them the truth, that there was nothing here, that he had not put me in jail for driving my car, as my then legal counsel Sterling Gill instructed me to do. He agreed. I told him the date of the case hearing, and he agreed to be there. He then told me he loved me. He asked me about my daughter Kennedy, if she was okay. Then he asked me how was the call. I told him I got the alignment. Motion to discovery to be submitted. Screenshot of Paul C. Kirschensteiner's incoming call dated December 24th, 2021.
Can I ask you this? You keep saying motion for discovery to be admitted. Is this just?
I don't know if they're submitted to you or not, that's why.
No, I don't. Anything, you have to submit things as exhibits today.
Okay,
So-
right, exactly.
And so you can mark, so the documents you want to admit,
I need to stop and get
yeah,
it to you.
it's not discovery anymore, it's just your evidence.
Okay.
So you
okay,
can mark them
Okay.
as exhibits.
Okay, so I'll give you, this would be,
And you're gonna use
Which I-
numbers, so you're gonna start with 1.
okay,
So whatever documents you want to be admitted, I'm not deciding admission right now, but you can use your documents,
Okay.
but
So, would it be okay if I complete my testimony, reading my testimony, and then give you the exhibits? Would that
that's
be-
fine, but you just need to make sure you gather the exhibits you're referring to so that Mr. Probst can use them during his cross-examination.
Yes.
Does that make sense? So you have to
Yeah,
make
yes.
sure that as you're talking, make sure you're gathering these things together that
As
you're
I'm
referring to, so that way, once you're done testifying, then he can have those, okay?
Okay, yeah, and I have them, they're all in order here.
Great, okay. All
Okay.
right, then go on.
Okay. Moving on. Okay, photo ops of me at work, business location, Papa John's Pizza, 2906 East Main Street, Columbus, Ohio, 43209. Manager Jacob Royals. Subpoena prepared and served for defense. Date and business, and that performed the alignment. Follow-up date with witness Mary A. Williams, December 29, 2021. It was on this day that the witness, Mary A. Williams, reported an elder abuse claim with the Department of Aging. See notes of Department of Aging phone numbers, call, and this is, I'm just gonna bring, I have to put the stickers on them, but I'll bring the discoveries to you.
They're your exhibits at this point.
The exhibits.
Yes, okay.
Okay, side note bar, Paul gave me his 1989 black Cadillac as a gift and token of his love for me. He told me that had he not met me when he did, he probably would have already died. Then I told him I didn't want to cause trouble with him at his daughter's house. He acts like he's afraid of her and her husband, Jim. I have witnessed Jim talk to Paul like he's an actual dog, like he is trained. He called Paul with his fingers, whistling at him like he was a dog, commanding him to sit down on the sofa. How you would talk to a dog that is trained. So we agreed to hang up. He said that he would help me clear my name through this occasion. He was strong and in his rightful mind. He didn't sound feeble or broke down. Paul called me, not the other way around. Again, this exhibit, screenshot of Paul's calling me on December 24th, 2021. Respondent's authentic certification of nursing assistant obtained at Hocking College. November, exhibit, screenshot of Paul C. Kirschensteiner's incoming call to me. Oh, that's a typo. That's already. Okay, exhibit, witness Mary A. Williams, call notes of contacting the Department of Aging on December 29, 2021 with a report of elder abuse inflicted on Paul C. Kirschensteiner by the plaintiff, Holly Kirschensteiner. This answer refutes plaintiff's alleged reasons why for her civil protection order. Paragraph 1. We have an open case with the Bexley Police Department for the following: forgery and theft and unauthorized use of a motorized vehicle against Jessica Richardson, unquote. This answer refutes plaintiff's alleged reasons for her civil protection order as well. Paragraph 5, 12/17/21, she showed up at my home. I have the incident on ring video. She was looking in my front door after I asked her to get off my property and made threats. Next, plaintiff reports in her CPO incident write-up the following: I am POA for my father, Paul Kirschensteiner. Back on 6/24/2019, Jessica wanted me to hire her as my father's caregiver. I did not hire her due to a felony on her record and no caregiving nursing background. Respondent's answer is fully supported in the plaintiff's legal counsel motion to quash subpoena with answers to the attached memorandum filed with the Court of Common Pleas, date February 28, 2022, now resubmitted for exhibit. Next, plaintiff reports in her CPO incident write-up the following: for the last 2 years, we have been battling her using Paul's credit card, asking for money and deceiving him, thinking they are in a personal relationship. My father has dementia, behavioral disturbances, and communication disorder. Respondent's answer: false and false and false in that order, Your Honor. Beginning with the first line. For the last 2 years, we have been battling her using Paul's credit card. In sifting through the respondent's answer of the motion to quash subpoena, supported more fully by the attached memorandum submitted by the plaintiff's legal counsel. Content contributed. We learned that the thus said plaintiff enticed and encouraged and gave literal permission for the respondent to engage in a personal relationship with her father. Moreover, we now read in the plaintiff's CPO incident write-up that she is alleging that we, as in her and her sister Lucinda Kirschensteiner, were against their father being a man to the respondent. When is it against the law for a man to be a man to a woman? The respondent contends that the actions of the plaintiff, as well as her elder sister Lucinda Kirschensteiner, operate in maleficent practices. Guilty of the crime of emasculating their own biological father, Mr. Paul C. Kirschensteiner. Moreover, I, thus said respondent, defendant, his lovely lady, living companion, and caregiver of 2.5 years, exclusively uninterrupted, nor is this a requisite acceptable for having an entire civil protection order put in place between her and the respondent. How is this constituted as an act of violence? that would threaten or harm the plaintiff physically or mentally. The plaintiff alleges that the respondent was using her father's credit card without him having knowledge of it. Respondent answers, false. Paul is and was my companion in his rightful mind and gave me permission to use his credit card for certain items of necessity. But what is most hurtful in this instance is seeing Paul's manhood hurt and my womanhood bruised on the occasions of Paul and I going to David's bridal to buy the wedding dress that I picked out with the help of our friend Bonnie Kriebel. Exhibit to be submitted. Wedding dress failure to purchase because the plaintiff and her sister switched out her father's Platinum American Express Unlimited Edition credit card, of whom he has been a member since 1981. They pulled this switcheroo right in my witness at the plaintiff's home, sitting at her dining room table with Paul. Bonnie Kriebel is a witness subpoenaed for the defense. Respondent's acquaintance and Paul C. Kirschensteiner's acquaintance that we met and made friends with at the Panera Coffee House. Bonnie also spoke with Paul and asked him what was the limit he was willing to pay for my wedding dress. Paul said to Bonnie he was willing to pay up to $2,000 for my wedding dress. Exhibit photographs of Bonnie and I on the day we went to find the perfect dress. Additionally, Paul allowed me to use his credit card to purchase our new mattress. The one he had from the previous address had bed bugs. Exhibit photo of bed bugs in the mattress. Exhibit also accounting of actual expenditures sent to Paul from his daughter Lucinda to be submitted as an exhibit. But the very incident that is most prevalent and hurtful in regard to Paul giving me permission to use his credit card is the time that I received a phone call from Wolfson's Baptist Hospital in Jacksonville, Florida on November 20th, 2020. That was the day I learned my daughter Lawrence C. Paul attempted suicide for the second time. It was on this day that I contacted Paul's daughter to ask her to pay on Paul's credit card so I could purchase an emergency flight to Jacksonville, Florida to go be with my daughter. Exhibit, please see actual communications between Paul's daughter, Lucinda, and respondent. In explaining fully the circumstance, Lucinda shown the fact that my daughter had almost committed suicide, having no empathy towards the immediate flight. She said she was not concerned with my circumstances and me wanting to go to Florida immediately to get my daughter. This is the type of demeanor and attitudes I battle constantly on a consistent basis in my relationship with Paul. His daughters were completely meddlesome and non-supportive of our relationship, even though they approved of our being in a personal relationship. This is fascinating, deserves to be examined as to what their true motives were in me dating their father. Exhibit dated email from the plaintiff granted me permission to date her father. They gave me permission to date their father but did not approve with their actions showed forth that they did not approve of him treating me like a woman he was involved with and loved me. It seemed to me that they wanted me to be some type of servant to him, but not his woman, companion, caregiver, love interest, or be viewed as his romantic partner. On that occasion, Paul had to withdraw his last $500 out of the bank to help me get to my daughter because his daughter refused to release the credit card so I could purchase a ticket to get to my daughter. For the record, Paul allowed me use of his Amex for certain expenditures such as help with my educational fees, each time with his permission. There was and never has been any theft involving use of Paul's American Express credit card. Next, plaintiff alleges in her CPO incident write-up, deceiving him, thinking they are in a personal relationship. Respondent's answer, false. Respondent's answer expanded. The plaintiff is in full knowledge that her father met me and picked me up at Starbucks in Bexley, Ohio. As well, common knowledge to all of Paul's acquaintances and also his storied song and dance of how he found me. There are other women Paul befriended in his search for the love companion of his life, of which he endeavored to find, searching in faithfulness every day for a period of a year or more. A woman to spend the rest of his life with. He found that woman in me at Starbucks on Memorial Day weekend 2019. The first question I asked Paul C. Cushionsteiner was, do you know the Lord Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior? He answered, yes, he did. Next, plaintiff alleges in her CPO incident write-up, my father has dementia, behavioral disturbances, and communication disorder. Respondent's answer, false. First I ever heard of it. Albeit, however, plaintiff did say that she was her father's medical proxy and that she was not giving it up. Why she would say this, I did not understand or know why or what was behind her saying this. But now that she raised the issue, I'm interested in knowing why she was so invested in being her father's medical proxy and why she mentioned that she was not giving it up. She mentioned this one time to me. I thought nothing of it. But now with this circumstance, I am most interested in knowing if Mr. Kirschensteiner is found to be what the plaintiff alleges in her legal counsel's motion to quash subpoena, truthfully diagnosed with advanced Alzheimer's dated 2018. Then it proves that the plaintiff's motives were skewed and corrupt, dishonest and unscrupulous to have full knowledge of such and still permit her father, Paul C. Kirschensteiner, to seek out a servant to be with him in his years of eldership. Why this is so very disturbing as well is because the plaintiff's father, Paul C. Kirschensteiner, and I have attempted to be married 3 times during the course of our relationship. We have obtained 3 marriage licenses in that pursuit. If there is any truth to what the plaintiff is saying regarding her father's medical state and condition, and that if he has been certified to have suffered from dementia and advanced Alzheimer's since 2018, then there was no possibility in he and I ever being legally married, possessing a probate status of advanced Alzheimer's disease. This marks a grave deception on behalf of the plaintiff. Exhibit. Respondent's copies of marriage certificates signed by Mr. Paul C. Kirschensteiner. Dates of certification, November 8, 2019, October 7, 2020, May 24, 2021. With all due respect to this situation, why does the plaintiff conceal this very important information for a period of almost 3 years from the thus said respondent, of whom has no knowledge of knowing or hearing or having anyone of clinical disposition and authority say this to her upon any and all occasions, especially wherein the respondent took the plaintiff's father to his doctor's appointments for the entirety of their relationship? with clear and concise reports to the plaintiff herself about each time she took her father to the doctor for routine checkups. Exhibits. Paul C. Kirschensteiner's medication list. Actual and authentic doctor visit write-up from Gateway Wellness 3334, Agler Road, Columbus, Ohio, February 2021. Respondents' motions of discovery exhibit include photos and videos and audio text included in random but purposeful improving evidences submitted that Mr. Paul C. Kirschensteiner is not demented nor suffering from advanced Alzheimer's disease. Dated occasions of respondent with her live-in companion, Mr. Paul C. Kirschensteiner, at multiple doctor, dentist visits. Exhibits to be submitted to you, Your Honor. Never even once has it been mentioned that Mr. Paul C. Kirschensteiner suffered from any type of dementia, behavioral disturbance, or communication disorder as a plaintiff alleges. Responded with this write-up in full explanation of the alleged charges stated in the plaintiff's CPO incident report. Thus said respondent request of this court a judicial order asking Ohio Health for the clinical record dated according to the plaintiff's legal counsel report and memorandum, the actual diagnosis dated to 2018. Paul C. Kirschensteiner's medical profile, including any and all clinical notes of detailed progress reports in regard to his medical condition. Exhibit, authentic letter response to respondent's request subpoena prepared and served to the Ohio Health. See attachment. For the record, respondent has had prepared and served subpoenas upon all the plaintiff's medical doctors. See attachment. Respondent's answer expanded. Motion exhibits also included with this report are actual communications via text messages from plaintiff's older sister Lucinda stating that her father was fine and in his rightful mind, able to execute his own affairs in regard to his living situation and renewal of his lease at 2877 East Broad Street, apartment B12. Insert. Next, plaintiff reports in her CPO incident write-up. He will be 80 years old on 4/18. Respondent's answer, true. Next, plaintiff reports in her CPO incident write-up. On 8/18/21, okay, I am going to omit because this would be a conflict of interest with the case across the street. So I'm going to skip down to side note bar. Not only myself, but my daughter Lauren C. Hall was on the lease for a period of 1 year before she relocated back to Jacksonville, Florida to live with her own biological father and my former husband, Michael Hall. It was after her return to Florida that she suffered the nervous breakdown and attempted the second suicide. Staying on focus, it was on this occasion I was at home in the apartment with Paul. I told him I was going to go to my house on Brighton to get my daughter's laundry, and I said I would be right back in about an hour. When I came back, that was when Holly was there at our place. I tried to gain entry because I wasn't there. When I put my key in the door and proceeded to walk in, the chain lock was on the door. Then that is when I could see Paul inside sitting on the davenport. He looked sad. He tried to open the door for me, but his daughter Holly, the plaintiff, stopped me. Then I called the police and began to explain the situation. There were no threats spoken. The plaintiff not only lies to man, but she lies to God. It also was on this very occasion that the plaintiff had me illegally evicted from my home of 2.5 years with the accomplice of Bexley Police Department. This was an illegal eviction. No papers were served to me. Paul didn't ask me for my keys, nor did anyone else. Nonetheless, the plaintiff seemingly got away with it again. She is like the girl who cried wolf. She is a Karen. Exhibits. Gold ops on my items being collected and thrown out. And it all shall be revealed exactly how dishonest this woman is in all her doings. It is what it is. I said what I said. Thus far, in all of her CPO incident write-up report, the only thing that she reported correctly is the fact that her father, Paul C. Kirschensteiner, will be 80 years of age on April 18, 2022. Lord be willing. Sidebar note. For the record, the plaintiff in all of our tenure, residing together at 2877 East Broad Street, apartment B12, the plaintiff seldom, if ever, came around to see her father, with exception of his birthday and her birthday, of which I baked the plaintiff a 3-tiered heart-shaped lemon cake. Other than that, the plaintiff was nowhere around. Paul and I lived together, sharing our everyday lives with one another in an intimate and private manner. Therefore, she would know little, if anything, about the activities that happened in that place. But two consenting adults had agreed to, between the two of them, for the sake of our futures, long and short-term goals, namely Paul C. Kirschensteiner and I, the thus said respondent in this case, number 22 CBH 416. Precedent. I knew a man in Christ about 14 years ago, whether in the body, I cannot tell, or whether out of the body, I cannot tell, God knoweth. Such an one caught up to the third heaven, 2 Corinthians 12:2. I would also like to take this opportunity to further expand regarding my answer to the plaintiff's alleged CPO incident report. It was on or around this time, August 12th through August 18, 2021, that a series of fiery actions launched against us, Paul and I, regarding the power of attorney that Paul gave to me to handle business affairs for him and I. The situation I would like to present to the court in all of its explicit explanation and testimony. These attacks were created by the plaintiff, her sister Lucinda, and Stacy Gregg, the vice president of Fifth Third Bank in Bexley, Ohio. Exhibit. Email sent from the plaintiff's elder sister, Lucinda. In these emails, you can see the utter contempt and indignation that the daughter Lucinda has for me, the respondent, from the beginning of our relationship. Even though she authorized, along with the plaintiff, that I could date their father. But she clearly speaks to the respondent in a tone that is both offensive and condescending. She speaks down to the respondent in her communications. She seems to harbor resentment towards me with a stonewall disposition. Next, plaintiff writes in her CPO incident write-up report, 11/18/2021, I brought my father to his apartment from a medical procedure. She was waiting outside his apartment complex. I asked her to leave and call the police. She made threats to me. Respondent's answer, true and false. True, I was waiting for Paul, also whom I knew had his medical procedure done that day. I too received text message reminders from his doctor's office about the appointment because I made the appointment for him. It was a surgery that had to happen for his nose. Removal of a growth off of the top of his nose. Paul got out the car and came into my arms. We embraced and spoke briefly. I said hello to Howie as I helped him out of the car. There were no threats mentioned. Exhibit, actual text message reminder from Dr. Kirkland's office at Riverside Methodist Hospital, December 18, 2021, January 20, 2022. Next, plaintiff writes in her CPO incident write-up report, 12/17/2021, and it seems redundant, but I have to read it as it is written. She showed up to my home. I have the incident on Ring video. She was looking in my front door after I asked her to get off my property and made threats. I called 911. Respondents answered true and false in vague and ambiguous remarks. On this date, December 17th, 2021, I already explained the situation per the beginning of this report, and I reiterate, copy, cut, and paste. There were no threats made nor mentioned to the plaintiff from the respondent. Next, plaintiff writes in her CPO incident write-up report. On 1/6/2022, January 6, 2022, I was at Panera in Bexley. She showed up. She was trying to get my dad to go with her. I escorted my dad away from her. She was yelling at me. She then exited Panera saying I attacked her. We called 911. Respondents answered. I drove past Panera that morning on my way to do some errands in the neighborhood. I saw Paul in the big picture window. I turned into the restaurant and immediately stopped my car in front of the picture window, leaving my car door open. I was so excited to see my beloved Apostle Paul sitting there looking for me, waiting for me. It is our love language. He told me he would always wait for me and look for me in the big picture window in our special sitting place in the restaurant. It was our code. So yes, I did stop by and show up. Paul, in his excitement, saw me pull up, and he himself got up to go let me in the restaurant. He went to the main door entrance to meet me, but in going, he was intercepted by his daughter, the plaintiff, Holly Kirstensteiner Logan, whom intercepted are embracing one another in mid-kiss. Paul and I endeavored to embrace one another at the coffee kiosk, and his lips perched to meet mine, and here comes the plaintiff placing her hand between his face and mine, where I lost my balance and fell back against the table and chair behind me by the fireplace. This happened in the company and presence of many witnesses. It was then that I told Paul, looking him in his eyes, that nothing would separate us from the love of God. Then I left the restaurant, exiting out the front patio door where my car door was still open. I lifted up the name of Jesus upon me, leaving and kissing my beloved goodbye. I waved to everyone as I left. There were no threats made nor mentioned on my behalf, but the plaintiff did say that my God was going to forsake me. Next, plaintiff writes in her CPO incident write-up on 1/20/2022. I took my dad to a dermatology appointment at the dermatologist of Greater Columbus. It is inside Riverside Hospital. I was sitting in the lobby around 7:50 a.m. I was working on my laptop and Jessica walks in and hands me paperwork and stated, "You have been served." She then sat in the lobby behind me. She was yelling at me, demanding to see her husband. They are not married, calling me a racist. I asked the front desk to call security. She was escorted out of the hospital, unquote. Respondents answer, true and false. Yes, I did come to my fiance Paul's doctor appointment that I made for him. That is how I knew he would be there. Also, I did serve the plaintiff her official sermons to be present at the court hearing, arranged through my efforts to obtain a CPO order against the plaintiff. Howbeit, my endeavor was not successful in the regard that I prayed the court for the initial summons and action brought on my behalf, provoked by the incident that occurred on January 6, 2022. That case I forgave and had it dismissed with prejudice for the sake of the entire matter being pursued. In that, my goal was and still is what it is, that I could spend time with my beloved Paul C. Cushingstein. The judge denied my petition, but he did say that my action moved the court to hear the full matter on February 16, 2022. Bar side note. On this occasion, the plaintiff literally approached the secretary in the medical office saying that the paperwork that I had served her was actually her own protection order. She lied. Can't help herself. Again, can't tell the full truth. Again, there were no threats spoken to the plaintiff. I was not escorted out of the hospital. I left on my own accord after I had served the plaintiff. I asked one of the nurse aides if I could see Mr. Kirschensteiner, and they declined to let me see him, so I left. There were no threats made to the plaintiff. Exhibit, actual text message reminding of Paul's doctor appointment. Next, plaintiff reports in her CPO incident report, 12/14/2021. I sent Jessica a text dictated to me by Detective Bird saying, she is not to have contact with me or my father. Respondent's answer, please see and review exhibit, dated text message from the plaintiff. Note the entire conversation. Again, the plaintiff is incapable of telling the whole truth. Exhibit, last text message sent to my phone from the plaintiff in its entirety. Next, plaintiff reports in her CPO incident write-up, Jessica came to my home, I have to prove. She stood in the street in front of my home screaming at me. I opened my door and asked her to leave my property, took a picture, went back inside. I called Detective Bird. Respondent's answer, true. I came by the plaintiff's home to see Paul. I asked her if I could see my man. There were no threats mentioned. Upon leaving, getting my car, I did make her a promise, however, that nothing would separate Paul and I from the love of God, and that I would meet her downtown in any court to prove my love for her father, Paul C. Kirschensteiner. I did a dance on her front lawn in hopes that Paul was watching, so he could see my love for him. Then I drove off in the black Cadillac that he gave to me as a token of his love for me. Exhibit, black Cadillac title. Next, plaintiff reports in her CPO incident write-up, 12/21/2021. Received threatening text from Jessica. Copy can be provided. Respondent's answer. That is the day I came home and was ambushed by the Bexley Police Department with SWAT. They came and arrested me on a trumped-up false charge of driving Paul's golf cart to her house December 17, 2021, and parking it in front of her home for Paul's use. Plaintiff's legal counsel motion of quash subpoena with memorandum copy cut and paste. Respondent answer on the unauthorized use of a motor vehicle. False. On December 17, 2021, I drove Paul's golf cart to the plaintiff's house looking for him, being an actual resident of his then address in 2877 East Broad Street, apartment B12. I had every right to operate Paul's golf cart. Paul knew I brought it over to his daughter's house, but he did not know that she put me in jail for it. I had to reiterate, according to the CPO write-up. Plaintiff in her malicious disposition, okay, that one. Okay, yeah, that's correct. Plaintiff in her malicious disposition conspired 5 days with the Bexley Police Department to find a way to put me in jail and keep us apart. 5 days, 5 entire days had passed from the date of December 17, 2021, December 21, 2021, driving Paul's cart to her house for Paul from the day that the Bexley police came to my home and arrested me in my backyard right after I came home from work, December 21st, 2021. In her write-up report of incidents filed in her civil protection order, the plaintiff literally confesses to conspiring to have me arrested on a false charge, conjured up a way to put me in jail. The plaintiff alleges that on 12/17/2021, the respondent, it's just all redundant, and I'm going according to the CPO write-up. She showed up at my home. I have the incident on Ring video. She was looking at my front door after I asked her to get off my property and made threats. Respondent's answer. Plaintiff is incapable of telling a full truth. On December 17, 2021, I came to her house driving Paul's golf cart. I came to see if he was okay. It was the first time I would have saw him since having his accident. I drove his car to her house from his house, of which I still had all the keys to. The property as well as the keys to the golf cart. I made no threats to the plaintiff. I parked Paul's golf cart in front of her house. After knocking on her door and asking to see Paul, she denied me, so I left walking away down the street. Why does the plaintiff not say this detail in her civil stalking order? Why does the plaintiff lie about this? Why does the plaintiff omit this information? Inquiring minds want to know, what is she hiding and why, if she's so pristine, possess such a perfect pedigree? As a copy and paste. Exhibit, photograph of Paul's coffee and I brought him that morning at the apartment, December 17, 2021. The golf cart in front of the plaintiff's house. I waited by the phone to receive a call from Paul. The call didn't come until several days later, after his daughter had me arrested on December 21st, 2021 for driving it over her house on December 17, 2021 and parking it on the street in front of the sidewalk in her front yard. The alleged charge they conjured up is joyriding. The charge was dismissed with prejudice on December 30th, 2021, and as a result of the case number 22 CVH 416 being established in the Court of Common Pleas against the thus said respondent, a vengeful act of malicious retaliation by the plaintiff, whom has had this charge reissued and is set for hearing on March 31st, 2022 at 375 South High Street, Columbus, Ohio. I am being represented by representatives, enrolled students at the Moritz School of Law at the prestigious Ohio State University. Copy of legal representation provided by the Moritz School of Law at the prestigious Ohio State University. For the record, respectfully submitted. Jessica May Richardson, respondent. Certificate of service. This is certified that a copy of the foregoing document has been served upon the petitioner the 17th day of March 2022 by regular mail. That is the first memorandum. Okay, and with that, now I'm going to submit to the court the exhibits, all in order. I'm going to read what the exhibits are and then and bring them to you.
Okay.
Okay.
You're gonna number them?
Yes, I have to know. I haven't numbered them though. I have to number.
Yeah, as you're reading them, put the numbers on.
Okay. Copy of Paul C. Kirschensteiner's. Oh well, first let me read it out from the beginning. This is memorandum. This is the respondent's answer and defense in this matter. 22 CVH 416 motions of discovery. Filed with the Court of Common Pleas in Franklin County, Ohio, March 18th, at 11:03 a.m. Copy of policy Kirsten motions of discovery. The first one is a copy of policy Kirsten Steiner's handwriting sample. This okay. Motion of discovery is to be submitted one original copy of the durable power of attorney given to me by policy Kirsten Steiner, signed, stamped, and
Are you
certified.
numbering them? Okay, when you're talking about these exhibits, you tell me that what you're identifying as exhibit one or
Oh,
whatever.
Okay.
So the first thing, the memorandum, is that your exhibit one?
The first exhibit will be copy of policy Kirsten Steiner's handwriting sample.
Okay, so that's your exhibit one, okay.
Your Honor, can I get a drink, please? Just 2 minutes.
Yeah, why don't, Miss Richardson, why don't you just number them while he's getting a drink?
Sure.
We'll take 5 minutes, you
That's
can
fine.
number them, and then you can tell me what they are. So,
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
if anybody needs to use the restroom or go get a drink, do it now, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yep.